Welcome to the session at the Good Intelligence Biometric Summit 2021. For those of you returning, welcome back. And for those of you just joining, a warm welcome. This session will focus on the Good Intelligence Biometric Survey 2021 in partnership with ID-R&D. Thank you to the 220 people that took the time to complete the survey. I'm joined by Alexei Kitrov, President of ID-R&D, who will help me navigate the findings and attempt to shine a light on the implications for the industry. I'll kick off the session with a run through of the main survey results, and then Alexei will then join me for a Q&A session. Bear with me while I bring up the deck. There's always a little bit of a delay. So the survey, it was managed and published by ourselves, Good Intelligence, sponsored by ID-R&D, and it was to discover the views and opinions from companies that have deployed or are thinking of deploying biometrics. The survey ran recently from March to April 2021, and a total of 220 respondents from around the world, from enterprise, government, healthcare, finance and insurance, and technology sectors. And obviously we're presenting this at the Biometric Summit today on Tuesday. So go through some of the survey highlights. Biometric technology is now commonplace, with 73% of the survey respondents using biometrics to ensure good customer and user experience, 55% using biometric authentication technology, and 3/4 of the respondents, 75%, using biometrics for identity verification. A significant area of growth for biometrics is to support remote onboarding, with 64% prioritizing technology that supports this process. COVID-19 has obviously had a huge impact on our lives, and as a result of COVID-19, 45% are using biometrics significantly more or more. Our respondents do have significant concerns from using biometrics, in particular from the threat of biometric spoof attacks, with 41% feeling that the current threat from biometric spoofing attacks is high or very high. There is, however, pretty good awareness of the importance of combating biometric spoofing attacks, with 55% believing that liveness detection is very important in combating biometric spoofing attacks. And just to say that the full report will be available to you, and we will basically contact you with details of how to download this. Let's spend some time in looking at the results in a little bit more detail. So in answer to the question, how important is customer user experience from your organization? Almost 73% of respondents said that this was very important, and 27% said it was important. This stresses the importance of customer and user experience to organizations, something that biometrics is very adept at supporting. Related to the question on the importance of customer and user experience, 73% of respondents see biometrics as being very beneficial to ensure good customer and user experience requirements are met. The next couple of questions are related to COVID-19, with the first asking the question, as a result of COVID-19, is your organization prioritizing technology that supports remote onboarding and mobile apps? Almost 64% of respondents say that yes, they were prioritizing technology that supports remote onboarding and mobile apps, reflecting the acceleration of digital transformation over the last year, with McKinsey saying that we have seen 10 years worth of digital transformation in a single year. The second COVID-19 question looks at the adoption rates as a result of the pandemic. 27% are using biometrics significantly more and 18% are using it more. So it's a total of 45% are either using it significantly more or more. 50% of the are using it the same as before, indicating how many organizations have turned to biometric technology in the last 4 to 5 years. Only 4% are aiming to use it less. Now, this is a very interesting snapshot on current adoption rates for different types of authentication technology. Probably no surprise to see that the user ID and password combination remains top of the list, despite many commentators predicting the death of the password by 2020. Interesting to note that FIDO is being used by just over 4% of the respondents, which is pretty low adoption. Again, backing up what we have forecast as an analyst firm since the beginning of the last decade, 2010, in that biometrics has become a very popular technology for authentication, with over 54% saying that they are using it. And this is current adoption. So here, this kind of emphasizes that again, with 73% of respondents are using biometrics now. The next few slides dive down into exactly what they are using biometrics for. We gave our audience 3 choices for this question. Which of the following does your organization use biometrics for? Identity verification or proofing is currently the most popular application for biometrics, with 75% of our respondents saying that they are using it. And that kind of echoes what we're seeing with the acceleration of digital transformation, followed by authentication with 68% and fraud detection with 31%. Always a very interesting question that provides us with a snapshot of what modalities are currently being used by organizations. In order of popularity, we have joint first, fingerprint and face with 69%, followed by behavioral with 19%, followed by voice with 25% and behavioral with 19%. Palm vein, 12% of respondents saying they're using it, and finger vein and iris are sharing 6% equally. And lastly, no one is currently using palm print. It will be very interesting to repeat this exercise on a regular basis, perhaps once or twice a year, to see the state of the industry. The next question here. This looks at the benefits perception from organizations of deploying biometrics. Why are people deploying biometrics? In order of importance, we have showing the top slot, we have convenience, usability, and security, which is a lovely symmetry to it. And obviously, many times we're asked whether we can do convenience or security, and it's good to see that they're the top of the list. Followed in third spot by fraud reduction, then compliance, 5th is cost reduction, and 6th, multi-channel support. The question on what biometric model to adopt is driven by many considerations and often becomes an almost religious discussion between decentralization and centralized biometric models. The response is pretty close, with the centralized model shading it with 56% of the vote versus 44% for decentralized. Again, it'll be interesting to kind of to watch the trends over the next couple of years for this. Now talking about some of the attacks that we see on biometric systems, specifically biometric spoofing attacks. The ability to spoof a biometric system can be a concern for organizations. And this question asks how they see the threat from biometric spoofing attacks. 41% of respondents say that the threat is currently high and very high. 27% give it a medium threat rating, and the remaining 32% perceive the threat to be low and very low. Now, if we look into the future, and this is very interesting, I think. The belief is that the threat will increase in the future, with an increase in those organizations categorizing the threat as high and very high at 54%. This is an increase from the current threat perception by 13%. Correspondingly, those organizations saying that the threat from biometric spoofing attack is low and very low decreases to 18%, down from 32% from what they're currently believing the threat to be. So in terms of counteracting the threat of biometric spoofing attacks, and linked to the question, The last couple of questions is our final question, and how important do you feel liveness detection is in combating biometric spoofing attacks? The vast majority, 96%, feel that is important, and 41%, actually no, the vast majority, 96%, feel that the threat is that liveness detection is important and very important. That's 41% for important and 55% for very important. I believe this to be good news, as most organizations are aware of the threat from biometric spoofing and see that liveness detection is a good technology to prevent this attack. This concludes my presentation on the results of the Good Intelligence Biometric Survey 2020-21, sponsored by IDR&D. I would like to now invite Alexei to join me in a Q&A session to get his views on the survey findings. Thank you, Alexei. I would like to start off with a question on your opinion on the survey findings. Do the survey findings echo what you are seeing in the industry?
Well, Alan, thank you very much for conducting this this excellent survey. I think it's very timely for our industry, because we can really see the difference in the marketplace before and after COVID. And what we're seeing is that the COVID became a great accelerator for the adoption of the biometric technologies in general, and liveness technologies in particular. And this survey is confirming this this concept for the entire market, and we can see it in our own technologies and in the products that we're deploying in the marketplace. We are seeing an explosive growth in adoption of these technologies. Some of the capabilities that we're bringing to the marketplace are growing at 50% monthly rate. You know, the number of transactions that are going through through our products, and the adoption rate is absolutely through the roof. And this ability to conduct services, to be able to open accounts, to do the re-authentication remotely, made an important step from being a nice to have to must have. Because if before, you know, the enterprise could tell the customer, well, go to our branches to open an account, now you can't say that. So, but in order to function, the enterprise must engage with the users in a secure and user-friendly fashion, and that's where these technologies become so important. What we're also seeing, and survey confirmed that, is the importance of the user experience. So you would think that, you know, the biometrics and liveness, it's a purely, you know, securely function. But you've seen how security and user experience go neck to neck when the customers are thinking about it, and this is exactly what we're seeing. And because it's one of the most important things for the customers, that's how they compete for their business, by being able to provide the most convenient and user-friendly service. When you're looking at the banks right now, so one of the studies I've seen is the way that the analysts are comparing which banks is better is by the number of clicks that's requires to open an account. So and of course the identity verification, biometric check, and the liveness check is an important part of the process from the security perspective. But if it's a long and cumbersome process, that's a big competitive disadvantage to the institutions in the enterprise that are using it, and that's why we're seeing a very significant shift from legacy active liveness solutions, which require active participation of the users. You know, turn your head, move your phone, you know, hold the phone in a certain position, blink 3 times, whatever the active ask is. So those systems are being actively replaced by the cutting edge passive liveness, which actually doesn't really require any active participation from the user, but takes this complexity from the customers to the technology itself. And once this technology proves and can be certified at the ISO 33107 level, like the one from ID&D, the choice between security and user experience becomes the false one, and that's what we're seeing, on the marketplace. So generally speaking, I think the survey showed the importance of biometrics, especially in this COVID and the future post-COVID world, and importance of the liveness detection as the technology that confirms the integrity of the biometric check. Because if you think from security perspective, if somebody wants to break into my account or open an account in my name, they're not going to try to find, my non-existent identical twin, right? They're just going to go into my Facebook page or my LinkedIn page and then print my mask or a photo and try to present it instead of me. So the ability to stop these attacks becomes an absolute mandatory component of any onboarding or authentication process.
Yeah, and the survey kind of testifies to that in terms of the awareness of liveness detection as combating and spoofing attacks. And then we're seeing that. And what was interesting from a market, obviously we're an analyst firm, and we look at the kind of the adoption rates of the technology for different applications. And from the onboarding perspective, what we're seeing is that it's going across all sectors. So we originally saw, when we were just updating a report that we first published a couple of years ago, and we saw the dominance from financial services in with fintechs, companies like Revolut and Monzo and Starling Bank, all kind of offering really nice user experience for the customers onboarding using identity verification, document verification technology, and then that being adopted by the established banks. But we're also seeing governments, enterprises, healthcare providers, travel in terms of the COVID-19 and the passports and the wellness and passports. We're seeing it cross over across many different sectors as well, which is and that's going back to that McKinsey 10 years of digital transformation in 1 year. That kind of echoes that as well. So in addition to what you've just said in answering my first question, what are your main takeaways? So from people, organizations out there that are deploying or thinking of deploying a biometric technology, what are your main takeaways from the survey?
Well, I think the key is the importance of the user experience. It is a security feature, but it is measured and it's valued by the way that it's being integrated into the user experience. I think more and more companies essentially using kind of the Apple approach to business, where design and user experience drives the business, drives the adoption, because that's what the customers want. They expect a seamless experience. They expect a frictionless experience. That's what they respond to. And but typically, before we've seen this tug of war between security and user experience, and I think that tug of war is over. And the current cutting edge technology can provide both. We recently spoke with some large enterprise that was saying that they were losing up to 50% of the applicants at the liveness step of the onboarding process because of the active nature of this liveness. So the users were not able to do it from the first try because they didn't read the instructions correctly, and they got frustrated. And this is just not what the enterprise are interested in. They're interested in providing seamless experience for the customers, and they're interested in having security assurances from the technology they're deploying. And the good news that that the current state of technology can provide that. What was also interesting to see is that the spoofing um, spoofing as a threat to the security is perceived to be a growing one, because
Yeah.
I think the way that the survey did it, it was extremely smart to see where we're at right now and what are the expectations for the future. And you can clearly see that the industry is expecting this threat to become more and more serious, more and more important to the security of the enterprise, and therefore puts more importance to the liveness detection technology that enable to address this issue now and going forward.
Do you see that as an, I read an interesting academic paper recently about using AI, using machine learning to attack security systems. So do you see that as a result? Do you see the concern from the organizations that are deploying, because they see that the kind of instead of you put up a mask and you put up a a piece of paper, do you see the attackers getting more sophisticated and using kind of AI and machine learning as a way to try and spoof these systems?
Absolutely, 100%. And what we've been hearing all the conversation about the deep fakes and how the deep
Yeah.
fakes are going to be the future of fraud and in the future of attacks. But in our conversations with our customers and we the practitioners on the market, it was all kind of in the future tense. We expect that the deepfakes will be there in 2021. That conversation shifted from future tense to the present tense.
Wow.
So it is a reality. It's the fast growing type of attacks, and that's where the liveness would need to shift from purely kind of from single modality on the facial liveness to multimodality with the facial liveness and voice liveness and the technology that can distinguish between a voice of a person speaking in front of a device with the synthetic voice or replay of the recorded voice. And there are some very good technologies out there in the market, and IDR&D recently did a new release of our voice EA anti-spoofing capabilities that help to address this issue. But I think generally the use of AI presents its own benefits and its own challenges. That there's been a lot of conversations about the AI bias and how we can see the difference in performance of facial recognition in other AI-based technologies for different types of population groups or demographics. And this is an issue that the industry must be addressing. At IDR&D, we put a special program in place to address this issue to make sure that IDR&D liveness technology that doesn't project the AI bias, and it's a significant effort in both development and data collection to make sure that we can ensure disparity across the board, and it's a bit of a three-dimensional process, because we're looking at different at different types of demographics, from racial perspective, ethnic perspective, gender perspective, age perspective. So it's a complex task, but this is an important requirement that that the companies that think of deploying these type of technology must be looking at as well, and making sure that the technology that they're deploying does not have an AI bias in it.
Okay, yeah, very much so. And I think kind of drawing this to a conclusion, obviously liveness detection is on the agenda for a lot of companies out there. And what are the best methods for counteracting biometric spoofing attacks?
Well, I think we believe in in creating the user experience that facilitates, the most natural interaction between the user and the enterprise, the user and technology. So the best liveness capabilities, therefore, are the capabilities that can enable these type of interactions. So specifically for the facial or voice liveness, it's a passive liveness. So that's a technology that can take a single image that doesn't require, you to hold the phone, to move the phone, to expose yourself to some type of, blasting colors or any other or any other influence, and just use the same picture that's already being taken for the purpose of the facial matching.
Yep.
And just apply the sophisticated deep neural networks and other machine learning technology to run the analysis and confirm that we have an actual person in front of the device, or we have some type of an attack, some type of a presentation attack, being it a photograph, a mask, a video,
Sure.
on the screen, a cutout, whatever that may be. So I think that the key, again, we're building a technology not for the sake of the technology. So the best technology here is the one that can provide the user experience that simplifies the interaction, and that's why we strongly believe in the passive facial liveness as an enabler of the simplification of the user experience, but also the technology that can provide integrity for the biometric match and remote onboarding.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you for your time today, Alexei. A reminder that the full Good Intelligence Biometric Survey 2021 is available to download, and look out for ways in which you can download the report. Starting shortly, we are making available a number of lunchtime listen interviews for you. Please feel free to watch these sessions now or at a later date. We have an interview with Francis Zelazny on Beyond Blockchain, Next Generation Frameworks for Privacy and Security, and an interview with privacy professional Emma Butler, exploring the landscape for biometrics. We are back live at 1:30 UK time for a live panel discussion where we should be showcasing some of the best innovative companies in biometrics. Thank you and goodbye for now.